This is the hardest escape room in Minecraft. It's almost impossible to complete, and I was challenged to beat it. Can I escape? Let's find out. When I first spawned into the room, the first thing I did was scan my surroundings. The exit I had to reach was a very large number of blocks up, and leading up to it was a weird staircase of end portal frames that I had no idea what to do with. So I decided to check the chest and was met with the most random selection of items I had ever seen, and as you may notice, only a single block. This already looked completely impossible, but just in case I missed something, I decided to check my crafting recipes. Nothing except orange dye. So I turned my attention to the honeycomb formation on the right side of the room. It looked pretty bland up top, but the floor was covered with emeralds and a beacon. I began checking each of the little slots, and inside one of them was a furnace. The only thing I could smelt was the nether gold ore, and it made sense. I'd be losing my only block, but if I had to use the beacon, I would need a valuable to power it, and gold would do just the trick. For now though, I kept searching and found an item frame with seemingly nothing in it. So I kept going and found another one. This time, I noticed a trick. A brown stained glass pane that was totally hidden. Now I had 2 more blocks to pillar up with, but not even close to the amount I would need to get up. I continued to scour the honeycomb, but found nothing until this one block of glass. It just seemed like a normal black stained glass, and I didn't want to break it for no reason in case it was useful later. I broke my crafting table and chest since it's 2 extra blocks, and actually found a hidden saddle, but that's not going to be helping me get out of here. I tried to see how many blocks I would need to pillar out, but I needed 2 blocks just to get up every end portal. This was impossible. Unless I used the beacon. If I could get jump boost, I would probably only need 1 block per end portal, or 6 blocks total, which means getting up is actually doable. But for that, I needed my gold. I needed to smelt my gold ore, obviously, but I didn't know what to use as fuel. If I used the chest or crafting table, I would be giving up another block, but did I even have any other options? I tried all the items in my inventory, and finally, the mangrove propagule fit. But after a quick search on the Minecraft wiki, I read it could only smelt half an item. A bit more trial and error later, I realized the cherry sapling could also only smelt half an item. Combining these 2 items made a lot more sense than smelting either the chest or the crafting table, so I decided to suck it up and get my gold. Now there was just one problem left. Where do I put my beacon? To actually activate, beacons need a base and sky access, and the only places with emerald blocks were covered by bedrock. So I gave up and broke the beacon. Just kidding, they can be mined by hand. My first idea was to put it under the glass, hoping it was meant to obscure the exit, but nothing. It looked like every block was covered by blackstone, and then it clicked. It looks like this blackstone serves no purpose, but the truth is it has to be there. Beacons can shine through one non-transparent block, bedrock. That's why they work in the nether. So I figured there was probably 1 block in the grid that wasn't covered by blackstone and was just regular bedrock that the beacon could shine through. So I searched through the holes in the honeycomb, and there it was, bedrock. Now I could use my jump boost to climb the end pillars, but for that I still needed 2 blocks. I was stuck again. So I turned my attention to the one thing I hadn't considered yet, the glass. Because I couldn't figure out any use for it, I just decided to break it and got a carpet. On its own, this wouldn't be very useful, but if I had something to place it on, this carpet could become a full block. I tried searching outside the room with F5 to see if there was a hidden block or anything I could use, and then I found something. A single protruding piece of bedrock. This told me absolutely nothing except for the suspicious sand and gravel might actually have a use. And finally, after a lot of searching, something caught my eye. The tags for suspicious sand. I could plant certain blocks on this. If I could place bamboo and dead bushes, maybe I could place my sugarcane too. So I tried it and it worked. There must have been some water in the wall where the bedrock block was. So I put my carpet on my sugarcane and was still a block short from reaching the top, but this time I knew what I had to do. But I had to be fast. I jumped down, grabbed my beacon, and sprinted for the jumps. Good thing I had a backup of the world. And there we go. I entered room 2 to find a panda, a nether portal, and a pit of lava in front of me. And interestingly, no apparent exit. Across the lava was a hopper, but obviously I couldn't get that far yet, so I decided to do the obvious thing and continue exploring by going into the nether. Inside, I was met with potted bamboo, a crafting table deep into the wall, suspicious gravel near the portal, and 2 hoppers. One with a piece of paper telling you to subscribe, which you should totally do, and another with 2 more bamboo, gunpowder, powder, a pottery sherd, and a silk touch book. I now had a ton of items, but there didn't seem to be any exit to this room. Previously though, I had noticed what looked like a secret passage behind the hopper, so I turned my attention to trying to get across, and after a bit of searching, I saw exactly what I was looking for: barriers. There was a trail of barriers creating a parkour to get across the lava, so after a few easy jumps, I got 2 bamboo and a camel. This was honestly even more confusing than before. Now I had all these random items, but no goal and nothing in common. Not to mention, there was still a panda in the room with me. But reaching the end did give me one lead: the anvils. If I could find a way to get silk touch on my axe, I could collect the leaves in the frame of the nether portal. I didn't know if I could do anything with that leaf, but at least give me a goal to work towards. But now the question was, how do I get levels? I checked the nether again and found nothing. I could break the crafting table, but was pretty sure that would get me nowhere. I could only craft a stick with my bamboo, but that wouldn't unlock anything useful either. I was at a total dead end until I remembered a trick. Because of how nether portals relate to blocks in the overworld, if you shift on the edge of a portal, you can actually appear in a different portal in the overworld. So I did it on both edges in the nether, and nothing. It was the same room both times. Same panda, same hopper, same everything. Dead end again. Not only was I stuck, there wasn't even an exit I had to reach. I was about to give up. I was going insane. I was just playing around with the panda. I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't making any progress. Until something caught my eye. The platform. When I was losing my mind earlier, I made a joke about just pillaring to the finished platform off in the distance. There's actually not even an exit. What do I even do? I can't do anything. I mean, I can climb to the finish. That's like right there. That platform was now seemingly further away. I was in a different spot than last time, but in the same room. And then it clicked. There were 2 different portals after all, but both of them led to identical rooms. It looks like I'm in the same room, but checking the coordinates confirmed it. I was entering 2 different rooms by shifting on either edge of the nether portal. They just looked exactly the same. This was perfect. The first thing it meant was I had another hopper I could parkour to, and inside I found 2 bamboo and a bottle of enchanting, and this time, a secret passage behind it. Thankfully, after all the time doing nothing, I'd already figured out how I was going to crawl in. In a previous escape room, I had dismounted a donkey to get through a gap, and I could do the same thing here with my camel. And after entering the crawl space, I found another hopper with more XP and bamboo, and this time I knew what I had to do. I had to get levels to get silk touch for my axe, and the only way to get levels at this point was blood. So I killed my camel, took both my pandas to the nether, bred them, killed their child, and with a hidden hopper behind my crafting table, finally got enough levels to get silk touch on my axe. I turned my remaining bamboo into a bamboo block and then 2 planks, and with the new axe, I mined the leaves in the portal corners, and I was free. But wait, because this is something never seen in Minecraft before. For every one of you that subscribes, this code will automatically find the average color of your profile picture, map it to the most similar color in Minecraft, and create a customized firework rocket with your color. And I'm gonna set off all of these firework rockets on the 4th video from now before the end of the year, so if you want to see yourself in the firework display, then please do subscribe. It helps out a ton, and I truly appreciate it. And if you want to see the progress and get a world download of this escape room, then join the Discord, link in the description. I entered room 3 and was greeted by a door, so I just broke it and took a look around. In front of me was a very ominous dispenser over cobwebs and lava. The exit was a 1-block hole with some end portal frames lighting the entrance. With the items I had on me, I had no idea how I was going to crawl through this space. I tried reaching into the dispenser, but it was covered. I tried crawling with some pot shenanigans, but to no avail. So I decided to check underneath the glazed terracotta square. So after painfully mining almost every block, I found a barrel. Inside was an assortment of interesting items, but more worrying was the noise I heard. A dispenser click. And as I looked up, I saw it. A glass pane was dispensed into the cobweb. If it reached that lava before I found a way to collect it, I was going to lose. I couldn't get close enough to reach it, and I didn't have a fishing rod or any way to grab it. I tried entering the small gap in the barriers using my door, but nothing seemed to be working. I was in panic. I was going to lose right here. This was really bad. I rechecked the barrel, nothing. My inventory, nothing. I couldn't block off the lava, so I was just forced to watch as my key to winning was lost. And then it clicked. The item item falling down was a light gray stained glass pane, a block that infamously looks invisible in your inventory and in containers. So to confirm my hunch, I ran back to the barrel, and right in the corner, there it was. Now, it may not seem obvious how another pane is going to help me collect the first one, but I had an idea. Because of the way items group together, I could throw my glass pane into the hole close enough that I could reach it, and close enough that it would group with the other one falling into the lava. Too weak of a throw, and the original glass pane would sink into lava, but if I aimed just a little too far, both would be lost forever. It had to be perfect. So I got in position and threw. Too close, another throw, and there it was. I had saved the glass pane and not lost the room. But I still had to figure out how to crawl. I was sure I had every item I needed now until I remembered something obvious, the barrel. So I broke it and checked under the observer below just to be safe. Now that I really had everything, I had to solve this puzzle. How do I crawl? I separated the things in my inventory into two groups, things that might be helpful and things that definitely weren't. I then kept messing around with different combinations of the blocks to see if something would click, and after a long time of trial and error, nothing seemed to be working. But then I had an idea. If I could place my door on top of my glass pane, I could close it on myself to lower my hitbox. The only problem, could I actually place a door on a pane? If I misplaced my glass pane and couldn't use the door, then chances are I would lose the room. So after a bit of deliberating, I booted up a creative world to test it out. It was impossible. Luckily, I hadn't lost, but I still couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do with these blocks. And after many minutes of thinking, I got it. I could use the glass pane's changing hitbox to get me into crawl. I had a theory that if I placed a barrel and made my glass pane expand, it could get me to push into crawl. So I constructed the setup that would allow me to place the barrel in the right spot, and then I went for it. Nothing. I had messed it up. The barrel couldn't fit between me and the pot, and as a result, I had just placed my glass pane for nothing. If this was a mistake, chances are I would lose the room right there on the spot. I had to find a way to make it work, and after a bit more messing around, it clicked. I had to use the door. By placing the door on the barrel and closing it on myself and the glass pane, I could get the perfect setup to thrust myself into crawl mode, and with a little trial and error, I got to keep my barrel and door as well. After using the remaining blocks to pillar up a mini tunnel, I was met with a giant maze. I couldn't actually enter the maze as it was sealed off by barriers, but there was a lot to explore. In one corner was a gold pressure plate, and in the other was a dropper next to a piston. I couldn't reach that high, but chances are I would have to find a way to activate the pressure plate inside the maze in order to get whatever item was in the dropper. The exit was only a single block up, but conveniently I had 0 blocks to pillar up with. So I decided to just send it and press the pressure plate I could stand on, and it spawned a baby hoglin. I had no idea what to do, but what I did know is that I didn't have long. I ran over to the opposite corner where the coordinates in chat were, and I saw a purple carpet that was dispensed. If I didn't solve this maze in 5 minutes, that carpet would despawn and I would lose the room. The issue was I had no idea how to control a baby hoglin. As far as I knew, nothing could attract them, and the only thing that made sense to try was the warped fungus. So since I couldn't place it on the ground, I just used the pots. But instead of being attracted, the opposite happened. The hoglin ran away. The baby hoglin was scared of the warped fungus. This was perfect. If I strategically placed the pot with the fungus, I could lead the baby hoglin all the way to the pressure plate in the corner. Now it was just a matter of tracking him down, placing the potted fungus, breaking, and repeating. And only a few minutes later, I had led him all the way to the end. I then used the carpet on the flower pot by the exit, and I was out. The next room was definitely one of the weirdest escape room chambers I had ever seen. In front of me was a pool of water, a magma cube, and a dragon egg sitting on a crafting table. Looking inside the pool definitely didn't help either. I found a pressure plate, a block of oxidized copper, and a sea pickle. I was completely clueless. I had 0 blocks and somehow had to pillar up 6. As I turned around though, I caught sight of a hidden TNT block in an item frame under the crafting table. This still gave me no clue what I was meant to do, but hey, at least I had another block. For probably way too long, I was just running around the room trying not to get hit by Gerard the magma cube while brainstorming how to get out. I decided to collect both the dragon egg and crafting table, but that didn't really help me with anything obvious. I had 3 blocks and I needed 6. I had no crafting recipe, so I just continued to waltz around the room and think. I checked in the pool again, but to no avail. The one thing that I had yet to collect was the copper block, but I couldn't mine it. But as I got out of the pool, I noticed something. Frog spawn in an invisible item frame, and then I got it. I could hatch this frog spawn into frogs, which would then eat the magma cube and get me a frog light. It was a ridiculous process, but it would allow me to turn tadpoles and magma slimes into an actual block I could stand on. This revelation didn't fully solve my problem though. Given the frog spawn, I would still only have 4 blocks. That's too shy of what I need to escape. I needed to turn one of these blocks into 3, and then it hit me. If I could turn this oxidized copper into regular copper and collect it as a block, I could craft it into 9 copper ingots and then into 3 lightning rods. These 3 blocks would be exactly what I needed to pillar out. The first step was easy. I just used my axe in the copper to deoxidize it. The next step was a bit more difficult though. How do I mine it? Well, the only possible answer to that was my TNT. TNT would definitely blow it up, but the problem was the water. Explosions underwater didn't break any blocks, so the TNT was out of the question. I was again totally stuck. I spent another couple minutes just thinking of a possible solution. It seemed like I was completely at a dead end, but finally, it hit me. I stood in the corner and waited to lure Gerard away from the blast. I was going to explode the copper. I knew from one of my previous videos that placing sand on top of TNT and then igniting it underwater actually caused a blast, since sand cleared the water around the TNT. Well, I didn't have sand, but what I did have was a dragon egg, and setting it up in the perfect setup let me finally collect the copper. Oh, and it somehow blew up the frog-spawned tadpoles, which was nice. I turned my copper into rods and then waited the most boring 15 minutes of my life until these tadpoles grew up. But they did, and they ate the magma cube, and I got my frog light, and with a bit of clever design, since I couldn't sprint, I used the edge of the pool and all my newfound blocks to pillar my way out. This was the penultimate room. In front of me was lava, a ton of droppers, but what caught my eye the most was the repeater. A ways up into the wall was a random repeater that I probably had to figure out how to power in order to activate the dispenser and get my items. The room itself didn't have a normal exit, but it had this hole in the corner which looked like a perfect place to place a bed. If I could 1, get a bed, and 2, somehow die, I would respawn in the other corner of the chamber. But how I could actually accomplish that was a totally different story. The only thing I could think to smelt was a sea pickle, but that didn't seem to have any obvious uses, not to mention my fuel was only pressure plates. I checked the crafting table and noticed I could craft fireworks, and this actually made a lot of sense. If I had to find a way to kill myself, fall damage wouldn't work if I didn't have blocks, but fireworks would, but I didn't want to commit to that just yet. I kept looking around and turned my attention back to the repeater. Realistically, the only way I was going to power that was with my pressure plate. Nothing else I had gave off a redstone signal, but the question was now obvious. How on earth do I use my pressure plate from down here to power the repeater up there? Everything in this room just didn't add up. I returned to the crafting table and decided the fireworks were probably going to be the correct play. To get a firework to do damage, I would need a firework star, and for that, die. But luckily, I had the perfect way to get some. I couldn't imagine I would need 2 pressure plates, so I used one of them as fuel and smelted my sea pickle into lime dye, then crafted that into a firework star and into an explosive rocket. Now when I got my bed, all I would need was a block for a roof and I could explode myself just like that. But this completely ignored my issue from before. Where do I get a bed and where do I get a block? I was back at square one with just some shabby fireworks. The only thing I could think to reach for was the repeater, but how would I power it? I needed a block. And then it hit me. I could craft a block. I could craft a pot. Now normally you would need 4 shards, which is why I didn't click with me earlier, but this time I saw the connection. I could use a brick and just make a pot with an empty face. So I used up my shards and now I had something I could put the pressure plate on. But that being said, let's just say I did put my pot up there. How in the world would I place the pressure plate, much less activate it? I felt like I was making no progress at all, but then I got an idea. If the pressure plate was really the only way I could power the repeater and I couldn't power it from above, I had to power it from below. This might seem impossible, but I had a plan. But first, I would need to actually place the pressure plate. I placed the pot under the repeater and then jumped like an idiot for 5 minutes to try to place the pressure plate. The only way I could get it up there was placing it on the repeater, but for that I would need to crouch at the perfect millisecond so I didn't just toggle the repeater. This genuinely felt impossible. I had to be missing something here. The only thing I had yet to figure out was the lava and the droppers. If I wanted to activate the pressure plate under the lava, I could use the lava itself to carry my item. Problem is, items burn. Well, all items except one, my axe. Netherite items don't burn in lava, so I could toss in my axe and it would flow down the lava stream perfectly onto the pressure plate. Hopefully it would give me some block to use my pressure plate on. It did not. Too gunpowder. This gave me nothing to help with the pressure plate, so I just kept going over and over until finally I got the placement down. By this point, I had already enough time to think to realize what I had to do next. I was going to power the pressure plate from below with fireworks. If I placed my firework below the pot, it would actually fly through it and activate the pressure plate from below. Well, I guess not if it was explosive. So I crafted up a regular firework batch and fired. And out popped a bed. Perfect. I crafted my final explosive firework stars using dye from the torch flower, placed the bed in the corner, placed the pot over my head, and let it rip. When I respawned, I was in the final room. If I could beat this, I would win. The room was insane. It had colored floors, hanging signs over jukeboxes, a dinosaur fossil in the center, armor stands in the back, decorated pots, and I had no idea what on earth I was doing. There was a sign in the corner that said I had to find a password and rename the paper into said password. Not a great start when I don't have an anvil nor any XP. That didn't last for long though, as I broke the decorated pots to find a barrel underneath one of them with bottles of enchanting. I was one step closer to being able to complete the task, but still had no semblance of a clue as to what the code would be. The trapdoors around the fossil in the center were very suspicious, so I flipped them up and eventually found another anvil with a piece of red glazed terracotta renamed to Focus. This was very cryptic and didn't really help me all that much. I mean, this section of the room had a red terracotta flooring, but what did it mean Focus? Focus on the armor? I had no clue. The note blocks were also very strange. They had cherry signs on top that were totally blank, and the note blocks themselves didn't really tell me anything. Interestingly though, they were all set to the same note, a B. Why? I couldn't tell you, but it was probably important, I just had no idea. Flipping the trapdoors on the potted plants answered at least one of my questions. Now I had a way to rename my paper once I found the code, but what was the actual code? I continued searching around the room and then accidentally right-clicked on one of the signs. Then I remembered something new that was in 1.20, sign editing, and moreover editing the back of a sign, and there I saw it, the word space over each of the note blocks. Note blocks set to the note B with the word space, B space. It didn't make any sense. I turned my attention back to the armor. I thought that there was maybe some secret message hidden in the trims. Certain ones did show up more than others, Vex, Snout, Wayfinder, but nothing that seemed significant. If the red terracotta was to be believed, there was more to this armor than I thought, but what? I was at a total loss again. Nothing seemed to lead me anywhere. I aimlessly tried some of the trims as my answer, but nothing worked. I was so close to giving up after almost 20 minutes of just searching and thinking. But then something caught my eye, the second armor set. This armor wasn't just dyed a lime green. Each armor had a very similar but slightly different shade of green with the same pattern of bees and just random numbers between them. This was huge. What if the point of the B2 note blocks and signs was to tell me that B meant space, like a spacer between the numbers in some sort of code? The simplest option was letters of the alphabet, A being 1, B being 2, and so on. So slowly but surely, I wrote out the alphabet and began mapping each number in the armor's hex code, starting at the helmet to a letter and getting a code going. G, E, R, A, R, D. Gerard. And there I had it. I had won. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing. Again, the world download is in the Discord in the description, and subscribe to claim your own unique firework for the show coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.